you can get your ass kicked. Anybody who's talking this shit, that shit, you can get your ass kicked. Anybody who's talking this shit, that shit, you can get your ass kicked.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Rob Griffin Show. My name is Rob Griffin. I'm gonna thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna tell you, man, my wife keeps buying me these sunglasses, and to be brutally honest with you, I'm not really a sunglass guy. Like, I don't really know what it is, but I get headaches from sunglasses. I'm not sure if it's the proximity of the lenses or the pressure on the side of my head, but to be brutally honest, I have never really worn sunglasses in my entire life because I'm not a big fan of them, and I'm not here to hate on them. I mean, these are cool. They're really nice. They kind of remind me of Devo. Remember Devo? Those old days, like, Devo, like these guys right here. That's way older than most of you will ever remember. They had a really cool song called "Do Do 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 Do." That's not what it's called, by the way, but that's the Devo song. Anyway, I was not a big fan of sunglasses. In fact, I've never really worn them in my career, even as a cop or even as a human being. I mean, back in the day, I wore Ray-Bans and tried to be cool, but they really just gave me a headache, so I stopped doing it. So today's story, I have a fantastic one for you today. Now, normally these stories are kind of graphic. They're gross. I mean, we've talked about slicing throats. We've talked about human fluids. We've talked about all kinds of crazy that I've experienced in my police career. Tonight's a little bit of a different story. It's more of a positive spin. In fact, I would dare say this is one of the crown jewels of my police career. So I was a young detective. I did property crime. Man, this is what? 2006, I made detective. Excuse me. 2007, I got introduced into the ROPE unit, or the repeat offender program. I'll talk about that in another episode. But anyway, my boss sends me a case of an elderly man that lived in Henderson. And if those of you are familiar with Henderson, it's nearby Sunset and forgive me, Warm Springs and Sunset, in that area where he lived. Not the most fabulous part of Henderson, but he had a nice little quaint home. And his son was the one who had contacted me, who said, "Hey, I think my father is being scammed." And I go, "Well, what do you mean?" So he starts to give me some details of this total POS, piece of shit scam artist that was targeting his son. Now, I'm not talking about this guy. I'm just talking about scam artists in general. And this particular scam artist happened to be a gypsy. And I'm not sure if you ever dealt with the gypsy population, but they're very unique. And I'm not here to say that all gypsies are bad, that all gypsies are criminals. I'm certainly not here to say that. I'm just trying to say this particular person happened to be a gypsy. They get into some fake auto accident or almost auto accident. Then this particular person, whose first name was Michael, his last name started with an M. You can look it up. June 2007, Clark County Criminal Records. Do your research. Anyway, Mr. M follows my victim, this old guy, this poor old man, back to his house. Okay, this old guy, actually not this guy. He looked like him. Okay, follows him back to his house, and then proceeds to walk into the front yard with him. And either he kicked over a sprinkler head, or there was one broken and there was a leak coming out of the ground. And somehow, through his demented criminal mind, he decided, "Hey, I'm going to scam this old guy and tell him he has a water main break." So this is what the whole premise was, a water main break. And he tells the old man, "Hey, look, don't worry. I got you. I will fix it. I need to be paid in cash. You can do separate withdrawals, and we'll go to the bank and you'll withdraw the money." Now, this dude, or I should say the scumbag, he wheels my old guy, the guy that looks like him anyway, to the bank. And that's how we got a lead on him. We had some video that son had figured out, and he gathered, and it said the bank had found this guy wheeling in the old dude into the bank and making withdrawals multiple times. Now, the total proceeds of this crime were over $100,000 in cash. Now, imagine this scumbag, the low-life piece of shit that he was, pushing an old man into a bank to withdraw his life savings. The guy was 90 plus years old. I don't remember his exact age. Forgive me for not knowing that. But anyway, it was a sad thing, man. So he's wheeling this old guy into the bank, and he's doing this crime, and he's stealing money from this old guy, right? And so I didn't really have a lead. And I said, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "Tell you what, let's put this dude on the news." So we got some video from the old guy in the bank. Now, this is not him. It's just a basic picture, okay? And I put it on the news. And it was one of those things. You ever see those things on the news where it says, "Hey, your local police department needs your help. We're trying to locate shithead A who was happened to be caught in this crime scene video. And we put it on the news, right? Contacted our local, our PIO, or public information officer. He contacted his friends at the media, and they put a listing for my case on the news. Can't remember what night it was, but the next day my phone was blowing up. One of the cool things I got was a phone call from a Las Vegas Metro police detective who said, "Hey, Griffin, I got a CI that is the one that's going to tell me who this dude is. In fact, he already knows who he is because he saw the video and he knows who this guy is." Now, if you don't know what a CI is a police term that we use called confidential informant. Now, CIs are developed multiple ways. More often than not, they get caught or stopped or apprehended or arrested, and they got some dirt on them, right? They're riding dirty, right? They got some dope in their pocket or some insert crime, right? And we would use this crime. God, it sounds kind of bad, actually. We'd use this crime to put pressure on them to try to have them give up bigger information, right? Catch one small fish, catch a bigger fish. Catch a small fish, catch a bigger fish. Now, more often than not, most of these criminals, they crack. They talk about how tough they are on the street and about snitches get stitches and all that bullshit. When they get arrested and they get put in an interview room and they're in cuffs, you'd be amazed at how often these tough guys talk. Like they were just brutally honest. Like, okay, bro, like I don't know how I'm going to tell you this, but I'll give you all the skinny on my homeboy. I'll tell you about this guy or that guy, because they don't want to go to jail. Because more often than not, they're drug addicts and they need their next fixed. So if they need to throw their buddy under the bus to not go to jail, they do it. There's very few that I encountered in my career who were bold enough to say, "You know what, F you, Griffin, I'm not talking to you." And when I was a rope detective, rope meaning repeat offender program, we would target habitual felons. And that whole entire unit started because of a young man by the name of Dale Caldwell. Now, Dale is currently deceased. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But anyway, he was the most prevalent criminal we had in Henderson at the time. So my captain at the time, I'll just call you Whammer. How about that? We'll call you Whammer. And Whammer said, "Hey, we're going to cancel this dude." So we followed this guy around. We arrested him multiple times. And he was wanted for a couple of homicides that had happened in Las Vegas, but we couldn't prove it. Now, we knew he was dirty. We knew he did it, but we couldn't prove it. Now, if you've ever been to Vegas or you ever seen that movie Casino, they take people out in the desert and they dig a hole and they bury them in a shallow grave. Or as you might have heard on the news recently, that Lake Mead's been dropping in Nevada. So they found bodies in barrels, right? So the rumor was that Dale had buried these girls, not buried them, but dropped them down an old gold mine out in the middle of nowhere. Now think about how difficult of a crime that might be to solve. For one, find the grave, or rather find the cave, and then go 1,000 feet deep to find your body, right? So short answer was that case never got solved, right? But it got dealt with by karma. And karma is a bitch. I'm going to tell you straight up. If you're the type of person that likes to wrong others, hurt others, I swear to you, as sure as I'm sitting here, that stuff will come back to you. Have you ever been hurt in life and you hold that grudge deep, dark inside of your heart and you wonder like, "Oh, I'd love to get them back." Don't worry about that. God will take care of that. Karma will take care of that because it catches up to you. I'm going to tell you straight up. It caught up to Dale Caldwell. Now, I'm not here to cast shade on the man's name. I only know about him from his criminal apprehensions in the city of Henderson. Now, was he a good dad, a good whatever? I don't know, right? Maybe he was. So I'm not trying to cast shade on the dude, but I know that he'd been arrested multiple times. He had a very lengthy criminal history, some of which were my arrests and search warrants and all that good fun stuff. But karma caught up to Dale. A couple months later, he was caught in Las Vegas in a vehicle, and someone whose dad he had beat up from a long time ago showed up and said, "Pop," and popped him right in the side of the head. It was one of the creepiest crime scenes I've ever heard about. There was a Las Vegas Metro officer that said his vehicle was going in circles, driving in circles. His dad was behind the wheel. Sorry, he's not dad, but Dale was behind the wheel, and he was deceased, but they couldn't get the car into park, and it was just into circles. It was pretty gnarly. Anyway, I didn't mean to make this episode about Dale, but rest in peace, Mr. Caldwell. I'm glad you're now in a better place. But anyway, so now my CI tells me, or my confidential informant from Las Vegas Metro tells me that my suspect was actually a gypsy, Eastern European gypsy that was very well known for fraud in the Las Vegas Valley. Now, this guy by the name was Michael, last name M. You can look him up. He had put down a very large deposit at a hotel, or a casino rather, that is actually near the Hard Rock in Las Vegas. Now, if you're not familiar with the Hard Rock, it used to be one of the most amazing hotels in Las Vegas. It had amazing pool parties and great action there, but it was off the Strip. It's a couple blocks south from the Las Vegas Strip. So there's a little picture of the Hard Rock. That's not where this caper went down. It went down, if you go up the street and to the left, there's another casino there. We'll call it the AP, right? You can look it up online. It's called the AP. That's the abbreviation. But anyway, I contact that hotel and I find out through my CI that my suspect, who stole $100,000 from my old man, had put down a very large cash deposit at this hotel for his son's reception. Okay, dad puts down a big cash deposit for a reception, no big deal, right? But if I could prove that the dad had put that deposit down by means of scamming my old guy, I had a good chance of seizing his deposit, maybe getting a warrant, who knows what, right? So I type up my entire affidavit. I go and do my full-blown investigation based on the video we had from the bank, my CI's confirmation of who this guy was, and I type up this warrant, which was basically a seizure warrant, and I go to meet the staff at the AP. Now, the AP staff were very cop-friendly. They were actually the most amazing security staff I'd ever dealt with. And kudos to that hotel for hiring them. And I hope they're still there, and I hope they're still kicking ass today, right? And I said, hey, guys, here's what happened. I had a 90-year-old victim. They stole $100K plus of his money. They put $10,000 of that money here as a deposit in your hotel, and their reception is in, I can't remember what the dates were. It was a couple of days, right? I said, would you guys be opposed to, one, helping us apprehend this guy, and number two, letting us go undercover at this wedding reception? And here's what blew my mind. He said yes. He goes, bro, let's do it. Let's get this asshole. Let's lock his ass up. And I was like, my guy, man, love you, man. So I contact my sergeant. Like, hey, Griff. No, I was Griff. I said, hey, Sarge, I want to go undercover at a wedding, at a Gypsy wedding. He said, what are you talking about? So I gave him the whole layout. He goes, let's do it, right? He was really cool. Sergeant Hampton, love you, man. I just was texting you about 10 minutes ago. Anyway, I text Hampton. I go, what do you think? He goes, let's do it. So I contact the staff there, and I gather my team, the Henderson Rope Unit at the time. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is 2007. The Henderson Rope Unit wasn't found until late 2006, if my memory serves me correctly. So we were a very young unit, but we were doing some really fun things. Now, my good friend Yanni, last name starts with a B. You know who you are, brother. He was helping me as a UC. So I was the server. I was a waiter at this wedding. A Gypsy wedding, by the way. If you've never been to a Gypsy wedding, they're unique. Now, I have this image here of a Gypsy wedding, and I'm not sure if they look like this or not, but I can tell you there were a lot of people wearing unique clothing, and these guys love Red Bull and vodka. I must have served, 30 or 40 of those. So I'm at the wedding early. I didn't realize when Dad was going to show up. So they gave me my little name tag that had the AP name on it, with my name on the front. And my story was I just got out of prison. I had a part-time job. None of the staff knew who I was. None of the wedding staff or bartenders or anyone that was involved outside of management had any clue who I was. They thought I had just got out of jail. It was a part-time job. And I got there, and I didn't know when Dad was going to show up. So I get there early, and I'm serving drinks, and the people are starting to show up. And I got my tray. I don't even know how to hold the tray. And I was running and serving, and everybody wanted Red Bull and vodka. It just blew my mind. I must have served 30 or 40 of those things. By the way, I made $30 in tips waiting on Dad to show up. Now, I didn't keep the money. I dumped it in a little jar for the servers who worked that night. But I'm there at the wedding. We're working, and I'm doing my thing. And I'm like, God, when is this asshole going to show up? I'm getting tired. Like, I didn't sign up to be a waiter. I wanted to arrest this asshole who scammed $100,000 out of this old man. So lo and behold, several hours go by, and Dad shows up, right? And my good friend Yanni, you know who you are, brother. He goes to Mr. M, and he goes, hey, Mr. M, we're having a problem with the hors d'oeuvres. Could you meet me in the kitchen? And we take this guy into the kitchen, Yanni, myself, and we had a whole takedown team in there. And I go in there, and I put the hooks on him. I say, hey, you're under arrest, Mr. M. and I throw him in the elevator. I take him downstairs, put him in my undercover ride, and we're out. And we're bouncing. We're leaving this AP hotel, which is right down the street from the amazing, the one and only, the Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas, an amazing casino. Now, if you're not familiar with the Hard Rock, this hotel actually sold. It is now called the Virgin Hotel. Still a great property, but it doesn't have the sex appeal that the Hard Rock had. Hard Rock had the most amazing floor plan. It was one of my favorite places to visit, and when I would go to the Strip. And so, anyway, we leave the Hard Rock, take him to the Henderson Hotel, the jail, and we book him on multiple felony counts. Again, look it up. June 2007, Michael M. Can't miss it if you go to Clark County's website. Anyway, we get this case, we submit it, and we book the dad. But here's what happened after the fact. It was kind of like the shit hit the fan, man. I was literally at the jail in Henderson typing my DOA, or my declaration of arrest, which is basically my probable cause for the arrest of this particular person, right? So I'm typing it all up, and my phone starts pinging, bing, bing, bing. And apparently after we left, the people at the wedding were like, "Hey, where's the dad? where's the father of the groom? Where did he go? Like, what happened to him? Where is he at now?" And so I thought it was kind of funny at the time, to be brutally honest with you. I was like, I don't really care where he is, because I know he's here with me. But I didn't realize that what we set off was going to be like a full-blown riot at that hotel. Like, people were throwing bottles, and chaos ensued, and they had to call Metro, who rolled in there heavy, and they were making multiple arrests. And then they find out later that the deposit that they put down on the hotel for this reception, $10,000, I had seized it with a court order from Henderson Municipal Court that said, "Hey, this is proceeds of ill-gotten gain. We seized that money." And then, long story short, a couple hours go by. They quell down this violent party at this hotel. The dust is starting to settle, and now we're doing our thing. We're hitting search warrants. We had him in custody. We hit his primary residence, a secondary residence. We're trying to find this old guy's money, and we're able to recover like some coin collection, some more stolen opportunistic items that were stolen from other people, and trying to locate those victims. But lo and behold, we book Mr. M for multiple felonies, burglary with the intent on every case, every time he entered that bank, pushing that guy in the wheelchair. Elderly abuse, because that my victim was of 90 plus years old. And so this guy got hammered with multiple felonies. And so he was looking at some very serious time, and as he should, right? But what I found out later was, after the whole dust had settled, was this guy ended up getting a plea bargain. Now, did he go do some serious time? The short answer is no. And this is just a sad testament to where we are today as a criminal justice prosecution type of world we live in. And I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here, but I think more often than not now, they're giving more leeway to the criminals, and they're penalizing our victims. And it's just sad to me to see that, because when I was a cop, man, if you stole more than $250 worth, it was a felony. Now they've moved that goalpost, right? Back then it was $250, now it's $750. And in some cities, like one not too far from me here in Dallas, Texas, they don't even prosecute property crime anymore. They don't do it. Like, you get caught stealing, it's a cite and release, or hey, don't do it again, or else we'll say don't do it again. And for me, that's the degradation of society. That's where we're headed, folks. It's sad. And so I'm not a fan of it. I don't agree with it. And I think we should prosecute to the strongest extent we can, because without laws, without rules, the society we know is gone. So anyway, this asshole gets a plea bargain. But here's my favorite piece of this whole crime, right? I wasn't able to give the family all their money back, or my victim all of his money back. But I did have $10,000 that I seized from this hotel. Talk about an amazing staff over there, by the way. They had no reason to help me other than to do the right thing. Like, I asked them, "Hey, can I go undercover at this wedding that someone is paid for?" They said yes, because they understood the story behind it. I said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I have a court order. I have to seize his deposit." Now, they could have fought me in court. They could have drawn it out for a long time. They didn't. They said yes. So for the folks at AP, you know who you are. I hope you're still there. You guys are freaking amazing. You know why? Because you stood up for the good guy. You stood up for the victim instead of the shithead criminal that targeted my victim, this 90-year-old man who was suffering from dementia and many other things. So probably the crown jewel of my entire career was the day that I received the check that came from the hotel. And I said, wow. And I was so excited. I called my Sarge, Hamp, you know who you are. I said, hey, bro, I got the money. I'm going to go give it back to our victim. So I drove back down Green Valley towards Sunset. I go to his house. And I was able to take this old guy. I'm not even sure if he really remembers me visiting. I wish he does, and I hope he does. But I gave him a check of $10,000, which is not a great amount of money compared to what he lost, but it was a significant amount of money for most of us. I even say, even today's world, 10 grand, that's kind of that's a lot of cash. Anyway, I was able to give it back to him and say, hey man, very sorry about what happened to you, but at least here's something. And by the way, the guy that did this to you, he's sitting in Clark County Detention Center right now. So talk about an awesome case. A happy ending. I was very happy to be the detective that got that case. I was very happy to be able to go play that role. By the way, I still have my name tag that I saved from the AP during that undercover event. And it was my introduction into the UC world. Now, I worked many, many other cases in the undercover capacity from that day forward, but that was my first one. And man, it was a doozy. But what it did for me as an officer, it really made me appreciate what I signed up for. Because when you become a cop, man, it's not easy. You have to go through this entire process, backgrounds, and all this bullshit they put you through. But you have to get up in front of a judge and you have to swear an oath to defend our Constitution against enemies, foreign or domestic, and many, many other words that come after that. And I meant it when I said it, and I meant it today. If you know an undercover cop, sorry, not undercover cop, if you know a retired police officer, I guarantee you that if they were in a situation today and they were in a mall or, God forbid, out shopping when an active shooter popped off, I'm going to tell you something about that person, male, female, or whatever gender they are. They're going to suit up and they're going to ride and they're going to go try and stop that asshole from harming others. Because that's just who we are. We're wired that way. I remember telling my wife the other day, we were going shopping and I said, hey babe, I have my gun on me. We're going to the mall. If you hear gunfire, you hear anything happening, I want you to run to the car, hide, and wait for me. I'll be there later. But I am not going to sit here and stand by and watch people die on my watch. Not going to happen. And that's the difference, I think, between police and the public in general, is when others are running away from shots fired, we're coming. And we're coming hot and heavy, and we're going to handle it or freaking die trying. So don't be a hater on your cops, man. They're the good folks. They are certainly not the problem with America. They are selfless, and they run into buildings, and they run into situations to save people they do not even know. So thank you so much for paying attention to this little short story. Pretty short story for tonight. And make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. If you think I said something you didn't agree with, let me know in the comments. I'd love to address it on a future episode. If you like our police and you want to help refund our police as opposed to defund our police, of course, please support our channel and let us know. And I'll be sure to pass that on to my brothers and sisters in blue. But for now, I want to say goodnight. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you on the next one. God bless each and every one of you, and stay safe out there.
I never imagined a love like yours. Through all the endless nights, you were the one I was searching for, looking for the one that was worth it, yeah. And all this time, you were right here by my side. You were right here. Through all the pain and the heartaches, now it's all messed up, and I'm walking out, slamming the door. And now I'm riding off into the dark.